Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Healing Overflow with Dr. Toy. I'm Dr. Toya Jones, your host, and it's so good to see you coming on back every time. I am excited about the show today because I really think it's going to be helpful to you. It was helpful for me, and I like to share my healing so it overflows onto you. You know what it is. All right, let's get some things out the way. You can hear a new and past Healing Overflow with Dr. Toy's Social Work podcast. Click on the Linktree link and you can see all of the podcasts and listen all at once or one by one, whatever you want to do. Just enjoy it and share it. All right? All right. Don't forget to send in your Ask a Therapist question. Listen, I have gotten so many questions, and thank you, because that means you're listening and that means you want to know information and you want to continue to heal. And I love that. I love that. We are never completely healed. We were always healing and sharing with others. So keep sending them in. Click on the Qualtrics link if you want to remain anonymous, or if you just want to say, hey, this is me, Dr. Toy, send it straight to me, toyaj@pitt.edu. And if your question is answered on the podcast, you already know you get that Starbucks gift card. Yes, yes. Get you something delicious to drink, especially now that it's the holiday season. That is what the podcast is about today, y'all. The holiday season. I mean, we're going into stores. We're hearing all of the tunes, like it's the holiday season, boom, 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 right? We're hearing it, we're dancing, we're pushing carts, we're grabbing things we don't need, putting it in a buggy. It's the holiday season, right? 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Except we ain't all jolly, okay? And is it happy holidays? Happy holidays, question mark, right? Some of us aren't that happy. As a matter of fact, we dread the holiday season, and for some good reasons out there. And so for you, that it's not that great of a holiday season and ain't nobody jolly up in here, this show is for you. I am going to share some helpful tips on how to get through the holiday season. No matter what you celebrate, no matter what holiday you celebrate or what holiday you don't celebrate, it's the season to get with family. And, family isn't always through blood, but sometimes it is. And, if you didn't get along with the family before the holiday season, you're not going to get along with them during the holiday season. And so I have some helpful tips to survive the holiday season with your differently different family, or dysfunctional family, And so I'm hoping these tips are very helpful. I usually limit tips to 5 or 10. Y'all, I got like 20 tips. So get your pen and your paper and get to writing down some things and pick the tips that resonate with you and use those tips. Use them, y'all. Use them in whatever order you want, all right? I got my tips. Ready? All right. Let's start out with this. Come prepared, okay? First Dr. Toy tip is come prepared. What do you mean, Dr. Toy? What I mean is, listen, whatever you have to do before you walk in the door with your family, with your special family, you have to prepare. If that means meditating for several days, if that means praying, if that means taking a walk and looking at the birds, if that means putting on some spa music and whatever you got to do, you got to prepare before you get in there. Because if you go unprepared or without your armor, you're going to feel all the attacks. You're going to feel all of the annoying comments, all of the weird behavior. You're going to feel it all. So come prepared, okay? Number 2, expect them to act like them. Why are you surprised that they are acting exactly like they've been acting for 20 years? Right? Expect them to cut up. Expect them to be disrespectful. Expect them to say something off the wall. Expect them to fight. Expect them to have too much to drink. Expect them to get on your nerves. Expect it. They're predictable. They're going to act like they've been acting. Okay? And lower your expectations. This is probably the only time I'm going to tell you to lower your expectations. I'm going to always say, reach for the potential, put your bar up high. Right now, Happy Holidays has a question mark. You are going to lower that expectation and realize that they're going to do what they're going to do. And if they don't, family, if they don't act like they usually do, then it's a wonderful holiday surprise for you. Then it's a happy holidays, right? All right. So expect them to be predictable. Don't have high hopes. They're going to act like they act. Okay? Got it? Next one. Set boundaries, y'all. Set boundaries. I'm going to go at 2. I'm going to leave at 4. Then I'm going to go over grandma's. I'm going to leave grandma's by 7. And then I'm going home and doing what I want to do. Whatever the boundaries are, set them. I'm going to have 2-minute conversation with Auntie because Auntie pushes my buttons. I am going to set the boundary to say, I'm not going to stay all night at your house, Mom. I'm going to leave and then go to Dad's. That's what I'm going to do. Now, get ready for the pushback. Get ready because, oh, you should come here. You should do this, should. And you're going to set your boundary and say, no, that's not what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. You're going to get the guilt darts thrown at you. Stand your ground. Be polite, but stern. There's a misconception that you can't set boundaries and be stern and be, nice. But who says we have to be nice all the time anyway? Sometimes you have to be stern. No, I'm not going to do that. This is what my plans are. I'm coming to your house at 2. I'm leaving at 4. I'm going to Dad's by 5. I'm leaving Dad's, going to grandma's, then I'm going home. That is what I'm going to do. Okay? Boundaries, y'all. Woo. Limit the conversation with the button pushers. You already know Uncle is going to push your buttons and talk about political races. And you're like, for me, I'm a social worker. And pretty much I'm going to get into an argument if you're going far the other direction. When your beliefs are oppressive to a whole race or to a whole, identity of someone, I'm going to push back. I'm going to have something to say. I'm not going to be able to sit on my hands. So then I know I'm not going to talk to button pushing Uncle Button. I'm not talking to you. Or I'm going to limit my time on how long I'm going to talk to Uncle Button Pusher. Okay? So I know, hi, Uncle Button Pusher. How you been? How's life? How's the yard? How's the garden? Okay, turn around. I'm going to go get some tea. Whatever it takes to keep your sanity and peace, you're going to do it. Okay? So limit your time. Limit the conversation with the button pushers and avoid the hot topics. I don't know why people think around the holidays, let me pull out all the hot topics. Let me talk about abortion. Let me talk about immigration. Let me just pull it out across the dining room table. It's not the time, y'all. It's not the time. Yes, there's an audience, and heated conversations can happen organically because you have all these opposing views coming into a room, sitting around the table. And just because it's the holiday season doesn't mean that we're all going to just see eye to eye and hold hands and sing We Are the World. It's not going to happen. And so you're going to have to tell yourself, we're going to avoid this hot topic for today because I strongly have views about abortion and I strongly have my opinion and views about immigration. I have strong views and I don't want to get in to any type of heated conversation during the holidays and upset folks. So we're not going to talk about that today. And then get up and leave. Let them see some dust behind you. You don't have to carry on the hot topic, okay? Resist it. Prepare answers to annoying questions. Now, you know you're going to get the annoying question. You haven't found anybody yet? You're like, no. Do you see anybody with me? You know? So already have that question answered, you know? Are you still with us? You still with them? Oh. You already know I'm still with them. You know, why are you asking that? That'll be the first thing that comes out. So you want to prepare an answer. However, I'm not going to tell you how to prepare it. Remember, these are my opinions, you know, not necessarily that of a therapist giving you, you know, therapeutic advice and things like that, but they're my opinion, and it's, you know, through some life experiences and through others that have shared with me that I'm sharing with you. So you have to come up with the answer that feels right for you. So I'm not going to give it to you, okay? Come up with that answer. You're going to get the auntie talking about how you put on some weight. Did you put on a little weight? You know I put on weight. You can see my stomach, you know. But you don't want the knee-jerk reaction. You just want to talk about how perhaps you are not into body shaming and you are beautiful and you look handsome and lovely the way that you look, and get on out of there. You got to get the smoke behind you, y'all. So that you're not standing there in a line of fire. You're not putting yourself in that position, okay? So prepare. Even if you have to role play scenarios in your head, role playing is fantastic. It sounds like it's just for college students or it's just for children. It's for everybody. Role playing helps to get your mind together. And what we rehearse, we will usually do in the moment. And so if you have to role play that scenario with your aunt coming up to you and saying, "Ooh, what you been eating? Looks like you put on a couple pounds, more than a couple," you know, you already have in your mind what you're going to say and do because you role played it. You played it out in your brain, and you know you're going to say something that's going to keep peace, and you're going to get on out of there. Okay? All right. And the next one is very fitting because it's walk away from sinking conversations. If the conversation is not floating and rising above, you're going to get on out of it before you sink. So as children, I used to play in the woods. I loved hiking up, you know, the hills. I lived in a neighborhood that had all these hills and woods, and we loved the trails and things like that. And so we would go through the woods, and I don't know if it was real or not, y'all, but we always thought we were fighting quicksand. Like, avoid quicksand. It's right here. We're going to sink. Oh, no, grab my hand. I'm sinking in the quicksand. We had all these scenarios. And then one time I stepped in what I said was quicksand. I don't know if there's quicksand in Pittsburgh, but I stepped in it. My shoe got caught. I couldn't get my shoe out of it. And my sister, my older sister, pulled me up, pulled me out of it. We ran out the woods. I came back home with one shoe. My mom's like, "Where's your shoe?" It was a whole big scenario, like an Indiana Jones or something. So the whole basis, the whole part of my childhood was avoid quicksand. I'm telling you this story because I'm saying avoid sinking conversations, avoid the quicksand. Do not step in it. When you see that whole quicksand pond in front of you opening up, go around it or turn around and go the other way. You don't want to lose your shoe. Right? All right. Okay. Don't try to win. This is not a battle. Now, try to win in life. Try to win in school. Try to win on your job. Try to win in every aspect of life, in your career, but don't try to win one day for a few hours during a holiday, okay? Now, if winning means I need to make sure they understand what I'm saying, I need them to hear my views, I need them to change their mindset, it's not going to happen in a few hours. And so change your mindset. You can't control anyone else's actions. You can only control yours. And so you'll have to say, I'm not going to win. As a matter of fact, I'm not even going to play to win. I'm going to say, I'm going to avoid this altogether. I'm not going to try to win. I'm not going to try to control them because I cannot. And I'm only going to control me. I'm going to control my reactions, my behaviors, my facial expressions. Because I didn't say anything. Yeah, but your face is like, you know, control all that and don't control anybody else. Why? Because you can't. And trying to control someone and how they react to you and what they say and all that will leave you frustrated and you'll be defeated. You won't win. Okay? Okay, you with me? Got it? All right. Limit the beverages, y'all. Okay, because when people have too many beverages, they're loose-lipped and they're saying anything, and people don't have boundaries and guards and limits, and people are going to be destroying each other with words, especially if there's things that weren't said, arguments and conversations that haven't been had. And now that I had a couple beverages, I'm feeling a little bold. I'm having some liquid courage, and I'm saying things and doing things I wouldn't usually do. Don't you be in that number, okay? Don't do it. Limit it, wait until you're in another safe environment and partake and enjoy beverages, if you're old enough, and be responsible. But not in that setting. It's not safe for you, and so you don't want to do that, okay? Take a distractor. Okay, what do you mean, Dr. Toy? Let me tell you what I mean. Take someone that you can use if you need to get on out of there. Take a distractor. Someone is like, oh, this is your friend. Oh, who's this? They're paying more attention to them than you. You have an ally. You have a safe person. You have an island that you can swim to when your family acts like your family, when they act predictable. They're your person that you can go to or go, I told you, whatever, and keeping it funny and keep it light. You always want to collect material for your comedy show later. Make it a game. So I usually say, put me in a game, coach. That's something I say all the time. I'm saying in this scenario, don't put me in a game, coach. Be an observer, sit on the outside, and observe and watch. And mouth to your safe person. I told you they were going to act like this. Here she go. Here's cousin such and such. Here she goes. And she's acting like that. But in your head, you're making it fun. You're making it a game that you're not going to be in. You're just going to observe the game and you're going to collect material. You are a stand-up comedian. You need material for the next time you hit the stage. That's how you're going to look at it. You're going to observe all of the funny stuff that's going to happen because it's going to be funny. But if you're in the game, it won't be funny because you're in the game to win. You get it? Okay? So if you're in the game to win, you want to win it, and you're going to be competitive, and you're going to fight, and you're going to stay in that conversation that's sinking instead of being outside of the game, observing, and writing material for your next bit. There you go. And then you're going to have so many funny stories to tell. Then after the family function, you debrief. You say, I told you Auntie was going to ask me how much weight I put on, or I'm too skinny, why ain't I eating? Or why don't I have someone by now? When you going to have somebody to bring home? When you going to have kids? When are you going to, you still at that job? Why don't you find another job? All of that's going to be part of your comedy bit. All of it. Somebody that had too many beverages, you're going to talk about them too. And you're going to debrief, okay? You're going to debrief, and that safe person is going to allow you to vent, about what you've been through, what the person said, how they offended you, all of that. And you're going to tell your safe person or your deterrent person, call them whatever, the decoy, whatever, to say 3, 2, 1. And that's going to help you to stop. They're going to allow you to vent and be upset and say whatever you need to say, or even make it part of your comedy sketch. This is what the material I got from that meeting, from this holiday dinner or gathering. And they're going to say 3, 2, 1 when they hear you repeating things over and over, because then it starts to sink in and starts to hurt. And it becomes quicksand inside. And so when they give you a 3, 2, 1, you're going to leave it go. Let it go. Bow. Drop it. 3, 2, 1. Cut. Okay? That's how you're going to function. All right? Okay. And have an escape plan. Okay? Signal to your partner, your safe person, whatever, time to go. Whatever the signal is. It's funny. I can't wait. I got to tell y'all. But don't use it against me, because I'm going to use it this holiday, I'm sure. All right, well, we got to get these kids. My kids are my my safe escape people. All right, we got to get these kids to bed. They got to do something in the morning, whatever. You think of something like that. Or you don't have kids, you can't use them. You can take your friend, your partner, and say, hey, we got to make sure we get to your aunt's house, right? That's your code word for it. Time to go. Time to go. Because remember, you're in charge. Nobody's in charge of your grown self but you. It may feel that way because family can give you a whole lot of pressure and guilt. And through guilt, they're controlling your behaviors and what you do, even against what you want to do. But you are grown and you're in charge. And so you're going to take your grown self and do whatever you feel like doing. And that's my other tip. Don't go if you don't want to. Don't go. Now you're going to get the guilt. You're going to get the control. You're going to get people calling you. I heard you weren't coming to mom's. Why aren't you coming? You can do what you want. You have to do what's best for you. If it means avoiding days and even weeks of recuperating from the one dinner that was only a few hours, then you don't need to go. And so you can decide to say, I'm not coming or I'm not going, and make your own traditions. How about that? Have friends who are like family. Have some family that's not going to be harmful and hurtful to you. Have them over. Create a space in your home or go out to dinner to a lovely restaurant. Create your own traditions. Everyone go around and say something. This is what I want. This is how I want it. And you can create your own holiday tradition. And then you look forward to what you do every single year. How about that? And then people will get used to, they're going to stay home or they're going to go out to their friends and had Friendsgiving, whatever you want. The holiday season is for you, and you can celebrate or not celebrate any way you want. Okay? All right. Okay. This is good. Now, what I want to say is I need to address the unhappy holidays or happy holiday ? On a whole nother side of things, okay? There are some folks that you have been deeply hurt by family. I'm not talking about they're asking silly questions and you're like, ugh, here goes a silly question again. I mean, some trauma has happened. Perhaps you were sexually assaulted by somebody that's going to be there. Perhaps, some really deep wounds, some serious words were said, some physical assault happened. Now that's a whole nother level. Yeah, you can use these tips, but I'm going to give you, just some of my opinion and advice on that side of things, because, there are a couple things that you have to think about. You absolutely do not have to go into a house where the perpetrator is. Let me tell you a story. I had a client some years ago was sexually assaulted by a family member. That family member did time. She was super brave, testified against them, and then she was a young girl. And he got out after many years, and the family was allowed him to come back around, and she had to go back to that house where her mother and her grandmother and her aunts were going to be, and she wanted to see them, but she didn't want to see this family member. And so you know, they invited him, they invited her, and she's like, what do I do? And I'm like, you are in control. You have the power. When you were younger, you didn't have power. You do now. You don't have to go. And if you want to go, you can speak up and say, why does he have to be invited? There are several different options. And she and I talked about it. Like, let's talk about what your options are because you have the power. You can do whatever you want. You make sure you are comfortable first. You matter over everyone, over mom, grandma, auntie, the perpetrator. You matter over everybody. What do you want? And we talked about that, and she did decide what she wanted to do, and it was a better holiday than it had been in years because she made that decision for herself to keep herself emotionally and mentally and physically safe. So if that is the case, talk with someone you trust. Always talk to a therapist. I'm going to always talk about therapists. We are the best. Talk about what you want, something you probably don't do often enough, and decide what's best for you to keep yourself safe. Okay? Okay, that's the one thing. The other is you lost a loved one, and it's not a happy holiday because you're not celebrating with that loved one and you miss them. And that is real, y'all. And so, what I would say is don't avoid celebrating the holidays if that's what you usually did. But that person is gone physically, but they don't have to be gone in your memory, spiritually, if you believe that they're still around, their energy, anything like that. And so, they would want you to celebrate. They would be here celebrating with you. And so my first advice is don't avoid the celebration. That will pull you down deeper into depression, and we don't want that. But acknowledge the fact that you are not all that jolly and happy because you lost your loved one and they're not here. So here are a few things that you can try. You can, I had a little girl, lost her brother, and she missed him tremendously. And so how she was celebrating over the holidays is, he was much older than her, and she was like 11 and he was in his 20s. And so she and I talked about it, and we came up with a good idea that she'll dance with him. It was so sweet because that's something they love to do, and especially over the holidays. They would put on some music and get their groove on, start dancing. And so that's what she did. And, we made sure we talked to the mom, let the mom know what she was going to be doing, but it was going to be out there in the living room just like they would do, and put on his favorite song and her favorite song and dance it out. And she did that. And the family loved it and made them happy and joyous. And she's the one that actually led them into feeling more joyful around the holidays, which is just a wonderful story. Other ways you can do, I've heard people drape like a white cloth over the chair they may sit in. Other people told me that they make special dishes. They bake a favorite cake, or they make their favorite food, and they say, such and such love this dish and we're going to eat it, and they acknowledge them. One thing that I do, I speak the person's name that has gone on before us. I speak their name just so that their name is still spoken and they're still remembered. And so I will say their name, and that's a way that I like to remember people. Others like to light a candle and remember them. Some folks that are religious like to pray for them and remember them. Visit the grave, There are all kind of things that you can do, but you're not going to forget about them. You're grieving because the love is so strong. Are you ever going to stop loving them? Absolutely not. Then you're never going to forget about them, and you're going to grieve and you're going to feel pain. That's where it comes from. Now, where the pain vary throughout the years, yeah, it's going to be up, it's going to be down. You're going to feel more intense and less intense, but that pain is the love that you have. The love will never go away. Okay, so I hope those tips are helpful to you. As you're remembering your loved one and missing them, it's absolutely okay. Another way, I tell stories. I love stories, and I'll tell stories about my loved one. When my grandmother died, she died at 100, y'all. And I'm one of the youngest grandchildren of this really huge family. And I remember just, leading storytelling. I think I'm a great storyteller. So I took that responsibility on proudly and told stories and funny stories. And it made other grandchildren and great-grandchildren. She had great-great-grandchildren, everyone. The siblings and everyone just start telling more stories about my grandmother. And next thing you know, we were laughing and crying and laughing at the same time. It was a good time to remember all the great times. And so we did that. And that's one way, telling stories, telling funny stories. Some stories were deep. Some stories were really funny. And that's how we remembered her. Okay. So some of the last points I want to make is you pay attention to your brain and your body. If your body is reacting and saying, I no longer want to be in this space with these folks, it's time for you to go. If your body and brain is saying, not this year, I need to make my own tradition, then that's exactly what you need to do for you. And it's not wrong because someone doesn't want you to do it. It's right if it's best for you. Okay? Is that good? All right. Okay. Very good. Very good. Well, that comes to the end of the podcast. I hope that some of these tips are very, very practical for you. And I hope there are tips that you wrote down and you said, oh, I'm going to use that. I need that. I'm going to use that. Some you might say, that might not work. That's okay. I gave you a whole lot of tips. They're not all for you. But if you could use just a few and then pass them on to others, I think we can turn that happy holiday question mark to a happy holidays exclamation point. How about that? Now, the last tip is have a happy holiday. Thank you, everyone. Again, I'm Dr. Toy, and this is Healing Overflow with Dr. Toy's Social Work Podcast. It's been wonderful for me. I hope it's been just as great for you. Keep on watching. I appreciate all the feedback through the Ask a Therapist questions and just comments, and y'all are inboxing in various places and just you're interacting, and I love it, and you're sharing the podcast with others. Keep on sharing, please, because when you heal, your healing overflows onto everyone around you. Keep on healing and have a happy holiday exclamation point. Thanks, y'all. See you later.